FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
I know a lot of Republicans, I know a lot of Democrats. They're cut from different cloths. Democrats simply don't have the cold-heartedness necessary to see people suffering and just say, let them eat cake.
Yeah, but
they are not the types that
They voted repeatedly to do it. I mean, you just heard Democrats
And what
on
was
our
Donald
air.
Trump doing in the meantime?
He doesn't have a vote in the legislature.
No, he's the president of the United States, the most powerful president with Republicans in my lifetime, Scott. He never once even told them, come back to Washington.
We just played Democrat.
You guys have been out of Washington for a month and a half.
Correct.
A month and a half.
We just played Democrat after Democrat admit that
So it is the Martha Zoller Show, and that's just a bunch of arguing between Democrats who lost and a Republican, Scott Jennings, who knows what's going on. Because the fact of the matter is, Republicans voted to keep all that stuff going en masse every single time. I don't agree with the House being out of session for a number of weeks, but there was some backdoor meetings going on, but I think they should have been in session. But again, I'll tell you what you're not going to hear anywhere else about what's going to happen. This is the Martha Zoller Show, and it's so great to be here. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. So today, the House is in session, is going to be back in session to take up the deal that the Senate voted on. And here's what you're going to hear throughout the day. You've already started to hear it. Hakeem Jeffries is going to propose an amendment. This guy's going to propose an amendment. That guy is. But they don't have the votes. The Democrats don't have the votes. The Republicans voted to keep the government open back on September 21st. This didn't have to happen. The Senate could have voted on September 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. All the way to the 30th, and this would have never happened. The pain was optional. The pain was optional. And so this is what could have happened. We could have had none of this. But instead, the Democrats were voting against SNAP benefits. The Democrats were voting against payroll for the military. The Democrats were voting against all of this stuff. And guys, you can say it's our fault because we're in control. But all of our people voted to keep it open, except for Rand Paul. Everybody else voted to keep it open. It was the Democrats that voted no. So I don't know how a no vote becomes a yes vote, but they're going to do that. And we're going to get this done today. And I think that you'll hear a lot of noise about amendments, but they don't have the votes to get the amendments through. There are the votes to get the Senate bill through. So that will happen today. We've also got a number of other things that are happening related to all of this. And I had an email from my friend Jim in Jackson County, and I want to read this because, again, it's a perfect example of the misinformation that's out there. To those of us who have served our country in uniform, this is a paramount example of incompetent and do not care administration in Washington. Should we waste time impeaching them or just send all to Putin's Russia? What do you think? No checks for the GIs, no food for their families. Jim, American. Now, that was all because of Democrat votes. The Democrats voted no. The Republicans voted yes to all of these things that Jim wanted for the military. How is it the Republicans' fault that the Democrats voted no? I'll tell you how it is. And it's not, I don't agree that it's their fault. It's Trump derangement syndrome. It's a real thing. That if Trump's behind it, they're going to vote no. So Trump was behind feeding the military, paying them. In fact, he got one of his buddies to put up the money to pay the military. And it's just crazy that you've got a bunch of Democrats out there that are saying, we voted no against funding the government, but somehow it's your fault. And they're saying it's your fault, to be fair, because you won't negotiate with us. But again, elections have consequences. Majorities have the ability. They did negotiate. So here's what's going to happen. Now that the House has come back, there's going to be a lot of late night votes on these appropriations bills that have already been passed. And you're going to start seeing the House in session a lot longer. I don't agree with what they did as far as being out of session. But I'm told there was back channel stuff going on, and that we should be, we'll see what we want to see from this. But the bottom line is the House is back in session today. They're going to vote on what the Senate passed. They've got the votes to get it through. And all of the stuff you're reading about amendments that Democrats are going to put in, they don't have the votes to pass them. Because in the House, all you need is a simple majority. In the Senate, you need a filibuster. But if I had been John Thune, that I would sit there and I would have made them be in session, and I would have made those you-know-whats actually exercise a filibuster in order to keep this from going forward. I would have made them do it. But, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and they got it done. But if you don't remember anything else from what I've said, the pain was optional. They have the exact same deal that they had on the 22nd of September, and you could have voted it in. There would have been a lot more goodwill for these Democrats if they had voted for it, and Republicans would be a lot more likely to want to negotiate with them to be able to get some of these things done related to subsidies and those kinds of things. But the bigger question is, if you have a health care insurance system that needs subsidies in order for people to buy it, then is it a good system? And one of the things, the dirty little secrets is, and this is true, about 40% of people that have ACA never make a claim. So they're paying insurance premiums, subsidies are being paid to insurance companies are making tons of money, but 40% of these folks are not even making a claim. So, we've got to fix this system. And there's a number of systems that we could look at. I mean, the French one I've talked about a number of times, where you have basic health care covered by the government, and then you buy insurance for above basic health care. The problem is Democrats are going to say that transgender surgery is basic health care. They're going to say that elective surgeries are basic health care. And the question is going to be for people like me. I had both of my knees replaced. Neither one of them was under Medicare. Both of them were under private insurance. So was that elective surgery or not? I could have hobbled around here, I guess. So they're going to have these debates about what is elective surgery and what isn't. But that's one possibility. Another one is to come back to a total free market system where you pay the doctor, then you file the claim, and you get reimbursed from the insurance company. That was the old way of doing it, and it worked pretty well, and it kept costs down. Why did it keep costs down? Because when you're standing in the window and you're presented with a bill and you complain about that bill, the doctor's less likely or the hospital's less likely to increase their prices. But when you're not asking any questions about what it costs and your insurance company is paying the bill and then you just pay the difference, then the person that's actually using the service doesn't really have any connection to what the cost is. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, but if we're going to have this debate, it can't be under the gun, if you will, of a government shutdown. And Anna Navarro, God bless her, trying to blame this on Republicans. Republicans voted yes to keep the government open, yes to SNAP benefits, yes to all these other things. It was the Democrats that voted no. We'll be back.
Keeping you up to date with the latest news and weather. It's what we do every day.
It's the news I trust.
North Georgia's News Talk. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service. But did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen at a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
This is Terrell with the Spa on Green Street. I'm here with Tara, and we're going to tell you a little bit about the fun we're having in November.
Terrell, we have an early bird special November 17th through the 30th. Purchase a gift card and get 10% off of anything of $100 or more. We're also doing a very special Black Friday, November 28th. Purchase a gift card, receive 10% off, and get a special boutique item.
Come shop with us at the Spa on Green Street for your holiday needs.
Haley's back with us from your local Clipper store. We're talking about the brand new location on Falcon Parkway, and you've got something really cool, literally, for folks who are thirsty.
Yes, Bill. So we just opened our new store off of Exit 14 in Flowery Branch, and we have cold brew on tap for all you coffee lovers out there. We also have the new bean to cup where you do not have to wait for a hot cup of coffee. It's instant and it's delicious.
I'll agree with that. Coffee at Clipper, always the best. That's why we say Clipper, never fly solo.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Banks County Sheriff's Office is alerting residents of a romance scam after receiving multiple reports. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
I think the problem that the BBC has had is this happened a year ago, and an apology should have been made instantly. If a mistake has been made, you've got to apologise instantly. And then I don't think Tim Davie or the head of news would have had to resign, because they would have corrected the mistake immediately. It went unreported, unacknowledged, unapologised for, and I think that is where trust becomes an issue.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Gordon Brown. And one of the other big stories, he's the former Prime Minister of the UK. And one of the other big stories is that the BBC did a documentary about January 6th and edited President Trump's speech to make it look like he was saying something different than what he was actually saying on that day. And look, I think we've had enough of introspection about that day at this point in time. It was a horrible day in American history for me, as I have said many times. Once the people that stormed the Capitol, knocked down the stanchions, disobeyed Capitol Police, and broke into the Capitol, they lost me. I am not going to defend them. I will not defend them. But you still have to report on the story accurately. And what happened was on that day that 30, 40, 50,000 people were peacefully protesting at the Washington Monument. Lots of people that we know here in Gainesville were there. And the president did give a speech where he said to stand up to this vote count. And I think he was wrong about that, too. But he was not inciting violence. And when he was making that speech, the 1,000 or so people that had planned to do this event had already broken off from the crowd and were walking up to the Capitol at that point in time. We also know that Capitol Police got notification at 10:30, clearly 3 hours before any of the stanchions or the Capitol Police or the doors were breached, that there was this group coming their way. And they did not do anything about it. In fact, they testified to the Select Committee, which has been disgraced. They testified that they didn't know what to do. Well, 3 hours, they could have done something to block off those folks and make sure they didn't get through. But I think the dirty little secret, and this is all I'm going to say about it, the dirty little secret of that day is that Donald Trump wanted the angry faces of the people supporting him on that day. And Nancy Pelosi, who was the speaker at the time, wanted the angry faces of the people trying to break into the Capitol. I don't think anybody thought it would go in the direction it did. And what is true is that the initial wave, if you will, was people breaking in, vandalizing, not following the right things, all of that. And then after that, some people did wander in that didn't mean to be there. So the bottom line is the BBC did the wrong thing. They made it look a different way. They did kind of like what Dan Rather did, saying, well, I have this hypothesis that this terrible thing happened. I have this hypothesis that this terrible thing happened, but I don't know exactly what happened with anything. And we don't know because too many political forces got involved. And the retribution on this was the reelection of Donald Trump in 24. And you know what? I think he's a better president in the second term than he was in the first term. And I hope that that's the case. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. You can also text us at that number. We've got a lot of work to do today because of what's happening on the House of Representatives, and there's a lot of things that are happening. Now, Paul in Gainesville said, what percent of ACA health care is paid by government subsidies? You know, I don't know the answer to that question, but I will see if I can find the answer to the question because I think it's important to know that. You know, it's a difficult time because I do think that most of us, especially after COVID, believe there should be some role for health care, you know, and I'm pushing back on government, maybe using the term government, but we can use the term government. There should be some role because people should not be afraid to go to the doctor in a serious time because they're afraid of what it's going to cost. But the other side of that is, don't assume your doctor is not going to take you if you don't have insurance or you don't have great insurance. What we always did is we wanted you to tell us if you could pay or not in my husband's office, and we'd work out a payment plan with you if you didn't have insurance. Now, I know that's harder to do in today's world because I get so frustrated because they want you to pay before you even get the services. They want you to do your copay before you even come to the appointment. They want to do all that. I mean, my father-in-law was sitting in the emergency room the last time he was there when he had fallen out of his chair and he had broken his finger and got all bruised and banged up, and it was just a mess. We're sitting there not even knowing what's wrong with him, and I get the $120 copay bill on my phone before we even know what's going on. I mean, it's a little too quick, and I know that you can wait to pay things, but you start getting the alerts. You know, you get the bill, and then the next day, well, you've got this bill. The next day, you've got this bill. They don't even give you 10, 15, 30 days like you would in the real world to pay things before they start asking you questions about whether you're going to pay or not. So healthcare continues to be a big issue, I think, and I think that people want to be concerned about it, and they should be. But I think the better system is going to be something that is kind of a public-private kind of hybrid where doctors are more involved. I don't know if the system has gotten too far in the other way that we could ever go back. But, for example, when you get to the emergency room, it used to be the way you were trained to do things as doctors, where you would get a hypothesis of what you thought was wrong, and then you'd order the related test to that hypothesis. And that if that turned out not to be right, then you might order some more tests. Now the idea is you get in there, they order a whole panel of tests before they've even seen you, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you by the test. But that, by nature, costs more money to do because you're ordering some tests, ultimately, that you don't need. So it's going to be a challenge. So I will look up that question about what percentage of the ACA is paid for with government subsidies. Paul, I will look that up and see if I can get you an answer for that. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. In the next segment, we're going to be talking to someone related to lung cancer. November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, and you know, my frustration with this is that we spend a whole month talking about breast cancer, which is a terrible thing in October. But November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And for people who didn't smoke, lung cancer is, I think, the number one killer, number one cancer that will kill you. And it's even with people who don't smoke. I think we've done a very good job of reducing the number of smokers and therefore reducing the number of cancer cases, lung cancer cases that you get from smoking. But there's a real increase in the lung cancer cases that among people who aren't smoking and or never smoked. And for me, as you know, lung cancer devastated my family. I lost my mother, my father, and my sister to lung cancer. My father's lung cancer was due to smoking, and he lived to be 81, and he had a very full life. But it was still sad for me. I was 32 years old when my father died, and it was, you know, I lost a lot of time with him. And my mother died of lung cancer in 2010, and my sister died of lung cancer in 2010. So lung cancer devastated my family, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, that the pre-look and the be able to screen early for lung cancer is really important. And we're doing a fantastic job at Northeast Georgia Health System doing that. And, you know, we've gone from where it was very limited to the people that could get pre-screening to where there's a lot more options for people to get early screening. And even up to if someone comes into the emergency room and they're doing a x-ray because they got their ribs broken or something like that, a chest x-ray, they'll do one more look to be sure there aren't any little spots that need to be looked at on your lungs. And we are catching a lot of really early cases of lung cancer doing that. Dr. Karen Gersh has been on this program before to talk about that. So that's what we're going to be talking about next on the Martha Zoller Show. We're going to still talk about the big issues of the day. And Paul, I'll get you that answer while we're waiting for that. But just wanted to let you know what was coming up. This is something really close to my heart, and we're going to keep talking about it right here on the Martha Zoller Show.
Shortcutting God's will. This is Mike Martin with a thought from God's Word. Psalms 37:7. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Rushing ahead of God's plan will result in lost opportunity. God's plan for our lives also contains time-sensitive elements. He arranges for certain things to happen at certain times in order to benefit us and bring glory to Himself. Our cooperation with His timing is crucial. So which do you want? And I want. Missed opportunities are God's best. Remember, cooperation brings God's best. There's no shortcuts to God's will. Psalms 10:5 says, His ways are always prosperous. Isaiah 55:8, For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor your ways my ways, says the Lord. These thoughts brought to you by the staff of Milton Martin Toyota, your oldest Toyota dealership in Georgia. Visit us on the web at www.miltonmartintoyota.com.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, and for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
Tune in to 2 hours of local football fun with the Pick'em Show, coach interviews, game previews, and general mayhem. So join Bo, Caleb, Jeff, and Walker Thursday nights at 6 on AM 550 and FM 102.9, or video stream them on YouTube at Access WDUN Sports. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. 43 days and ready to be done. The House returns for tonight's final vote to reopen the government, pay the federal workers who've gone without, and restore air traffic from flight cuts and delays.
Air traffic controllers share the exact same frustration as the American flying public, that they should not be the pawns in any type of government shutdown.
Nick Daniels, president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, tells Fox they're promised to get 70% of their back pay within 48 hours. But if the House vote fails, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warns by Monday, some airlines may make a serious decision not to fly. The measure to reopen the government does not include Obamacare subsidies. Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox Operation Criminal Return picked up 150 illegal migrant sex offenders who targeted children in Florida. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A fire that rekindled in windy conditions at a residence east of Flowery Branch led to a total loss of the home. WDUN's Hamilton Keener reports.
Hall County Fire Rescue initially responded to the residence on Guth Road at around 7:30 p.m. on Monday. 2 adults were displaced and the residence was a total loss after the initial fire. Then at around 8 a.m. on Tuesday, crews had to respond to the same address in windy conditions. What was left of the property was fully involved in flames. The fire was put out, no one was injured, and the cause remains under investigation by the Hall County Fire Marshal's office.
During that exact same time frame, fire crews in White County had to respond to 3 separate fires. Crews responded to a residential fire on Hamilton Drive Monday night, a second residential fire Tuesday morning on Fieldstone Road, and then a commercial building fire on Brook Street late Tuesday morning. No injuries at any of the fires. And several organizations in Hall County are working together to try to meet needs of Gainesville's homeless population as a major encampment is being closed. Michael Giddens with North Georgia Works tells WDUN's Martha Zoller Tuesday their Unity project came together as the homeless encampment on Dorsey Street was cleared by the city.
So that was going to displace a lot of people. So we all kind of rallied together. North Georgia Works partnered with Good News at noon to take control of the Set Free building here. Put us all under one roof to create a resource center for those leaving those encampments.
Set Free building on Dorsey Street hopefully will be open full-time in December. Details at Access WDUN. Now your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Mostly sunny skies continue. Afternoon highs in the lower 60s. I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Young Harris, 43 degrees. Jefferson, 47. And in Gainesville, 46. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
There's nothing like cool, crisp air of fall in North Georgia after a hot, humid summer. Conditioned Air Systems is here to get your HVAC system ready for the changing seasons. With regular maintenance that saves you money on your energy bill, and look no further for quick, reliable plumbing repairs or installation services. Conditioned Air Systems has been a trusted name in Northeast Georgia for over 45 years. Call us today at 1-800-AC-REPAIR.
What if your beneficiary has 4 legs and a tail? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and on the next edition of Truth in Planning, financial planner Gary Anderson and I will look at how to provide for the pets in your life. We'll also discuss planning wiser when living longer. We've done all the work. You just need to tune in to Truth in Planning, Saturday afternoon at 2 on WDUN. Always here, always local.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Lung cancer remains the #1 cancer killer, folks, in the United States and globally. We're coming up with new strategies on how we can better navigate people to not only getting screening for lung cancer, but to actually involve them in science. And all we want to do is to make sure that everybody gets access to the best treatments through the best science, so that ultimately one day we can actually have a world that's free of cancer. Donate to standuptocancer.org.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, and you are aware of how lung cancer has decimated my family, and it's something close to my heart. And for many years, I have worked very hard for early detection and trying to get this message out. It is in no way putting down what we do in October for breast cancer awareness. I think that it's an amazing thing that we do, but we need to have the same kind of laser beam focus on lung cancer. And joining me right now is Heidi Onda. She's the White Women Project for Lung Cancer Awareness, and she is with us right now. Heidi, how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Martha.
So tell us your story.
So yes, being a lifelong health enthusiast, health educator, and a fitness trainer, married to a primary care physician, my family and I were blindsided by my stage 3A inoperable lung cancer diagnosis in October of 2018. The really scary thing about this was I didn't even have any symptoms. This was an accidental finding while investigating another health issue. A CT scan was ordered of my chest, abdomen, and pelvis. And basically it ruled out what they were looking for, and they told me, you have advanced stage lung cancer, and this looks inoperable. So even though it's stage 3, you have no biomarkers to target. So this is terminal. You should get your affairs in order. And I'm on the line talking to you today, 7 years later, because research matters. Research matters. And, being that health educator and my husband a primary care doc, we were so embarrassed that we didn't know a lot of the facts about lung cancer. We didn't know it was the #1 cancer killer. We didn't know that anyone could get it, that, you didn't need a tobacco history to get it. We didn't know about other risk factors such as radon. And we felt there's such a lack of awareness. We can just start in our own neighborhood. Cancer centers were pushing back about doing anything, for the #1 cancer killer. And that took me from being a very private, quiet, shy person to wanting to tell my story to the world, because people need to know. And people need to know that there is screening. And if you're eligible for screening, get screened, because today it doesn't have to be a death sentence. There is great hope even in a late stage diagnosis. And if you're eligible for screening, you want to know. You want to know, because if you catch it early, you could get cured.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate your story. For me, my dad died of lung cancer when I was 32. Now, his was smoking related. And, he, same kind of thing, no symptoms. And we learned from that lungs don't have a lot of nerve endings, so you don't usually have symptoms until it's much later in the diagnosis. The interesting two cases, although sad, was my mother and sister were diagnosed within 2 months of each other with stage 4 lung cancer that was adenocell carcinoma, so it was non-smoking related, and they died within 2 months of each other a couple of years later.
My gosh.
And it was, my mom's was inoperable, and because she had other health problems, so treatment wasn't, typical treatment wasn't an option for her. And she was 88 years old, and not to mean that meant her life was any less valuable, but she made the decision about how she wanted her treatment to go. And my sister was 56, and she did do everything she could do, chemo, whatever the treatment was. And I think the hardest thing for her was, and I still get emotional talking about this, is that people would ask her immediately, did you smoke? As if if you smoked, you deserved this. And I think we need to change the way people look at lung cancer. And that has been my mission, for the last 30 years. To be better. I've worked closely with Northeast Georgia Health System. I've been involved with the White Ribbon Project. I've pushed hard for early detection. I've had early detection myself. And, it's one of those things that has taken up my life. And I'm married to a primary care doctor too. So.
Yeah. So, yes, thank you so much for your passion and action here, because that's what we need. We work really hard to change the public perception of this disease. It really shouldn't matter how people got here, whether there was a smoking history or not. We all share in common lung cancer, and it needs to be treated like other cancers. I've, my career, throughout my career, I've been part of, prevention being defined in all other cancers as catch it early, as screening, early detection. But in lung cancer, it's been defined as don't smoke and this doesn't happen to you. And that's not true. and not everybody who smokes, who has a heavy history of smoking even gets lung cancer. So, maybe there's some sort of there's something else out there, maybe some sort of predisposition, and we don't really know what's going to trigger it, in some people. And the point is we need to get people screened, There's 16 million people eligible for screening in this country, and now it's 18% of those people who are eligible are getting screened. We need to do much, much better than this.
Well, and I think that the other part of it is I technically didn't qualify for early screening, or preventative screening, but I went ahead and had it done because my doctor recommended it. He says, look, we don't have a tie to hereditary nature of lung cancer, but in your case, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So I went ahead and I paid for it myself. My insurance now covers it, but in the past it didn't. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm 2 years in between screenings just to be sure. And there's some question. You mentioned radon. We don't know this in the case of my mom and my sister, but the hypothesis is that maybe there was radon in the neighborhood that we grew up in.
Yeah, and that's very possible. It turned out that we didn't know about it either. And when we had to tell our 3 adult children that I had lung cancer, their heads were spinning because they never had junk food in this house. They had to exercise. And they're like, how on earth could Mom have lung cancer? And our son, though, is an environmental engineer. And the first question out of his mouth was, well, what's the radon of the house? And coming from Southern California initially, we never heard of radon. And we never even heard about it in Colorado when we bought our first home back in 1994. And we tested, and we were twice the level of actionable. We got the house mitigated right away. And you know what I worry about today is my children spent so much more time in the basement than I did. And they could be walking around with this right now, and they are not eligible for screening. But like you just demonstrated, if you advocate for yourself, you let your, physician know, your care team know that this is a concern and this is why, they probably could get screened, but yes, they would have to pay for it.
Well,
and then for the people who are eligible, we want them to get screened, because they'll be covered and hopefully caught early.
And absolutely. And one of the things I had a doctor ask me, aren't you worried about the radiation from the screening? I said, no, I'm worried about stage 4 lung cancer. And that's what I'm worried about. And so, everything is managing risk, right? Everything is risk. There might be a little slight risk of me doing these additional screens, but I've seen what happens when lung cancer goes undetected till it's stage 4, and I don't want that to happen to me. And if there's anything that I can do to prevent that, I'm going to do it.
Yes, absolutely. And our hope is that, research will get us to the point, because I know this is being worked on, some sort of blood-based, tumor marker to be able to detect, this. So people could get, hopefully, universal screening. Like, for example, mammograms. You don't have to have any special, eligibility other than your age, and if you have a family history, you get to start younger. The same thing with colonoscopy. This should be the same thing with lung cancer.
Absolutely.
But, if we had a method that was less controversial, and let's say everybody could get a blood test or a urine test or something, and then if something shows up there, then get the CT scan. So, we want to see advancement in research along the whole continuum of lung cancer, from screening and early detection, better methods, through more treatment options, and through survivorship, because many of us now are living longer, and we're experiencing toxicities of some of the treatments that we were on or the radiation that we had. And talk about radiation from a low-dose CT scan, that's nothing compared to, high-dose precision radiation, 30 treatments I had to have to my chest. So,
yes.
Which has now caused a heart problem, 7 years later.
So two more questions for you. There was a friend of mine who was diagnosed at the same time as my sister, and she, that's how they got to know each other, and they became great friends. And Linda died, my sister, after 2 years, and Starlet is still alive. I mean, she responded well to the new treatments that they had, and she's now been able to have a long, this was 2008. She's had a long time. She's seen her grandchildren grow up. She's had such a great quality of life. And, because it is the practice of medicine for a reason, Heidi. Everybody doesn't respond the same way.
Correct. I've seen that a lot. In fact, I just lost a friend on Sunday night who had one of these targetable mutations and never responded to that treatment, and had a very, very, rough time, with progressions and complications, and, was probably about 18 months from the time she was diagnosed to the time she died. And then I know other people who are like super responders and who are out there like 10, 15 years now, and still experiencing some toxicities from these, treatments, but are doing just what you said, experiencing the things in life that are important to them, children graduating high school or college, and weddings and grandchildren. So there is great hope, but we do need to figure out, why are some people doing well and others aren't. And that's part of why I am so passionate about what I do. I mean, I am no evidence of disease now for about 6 years, since completing my immunotherapy treatments after chemoradiation. And I feel well, and I'm doing well, and I'm going to keep doing this until I can't anymore. It's like, why am I here and others not?
That's right.
We need to do
That's
better.
right.
We need to do
Now,
better.
you are also a co-founder of the White Ribbon Project, and I have participated in some of the things that Angie Caton has done at Northeast Georgia Health Systems. I took my mother-in-law to help a couple of years ago when Chris was here working on that. I've got a white ribbon in my office, and so tell us a little bit about the White Ribbon Project.
Yeah, so the White Ribbon Project was, not planned at all. It was a knee-jerk reaction one day to just being so frustrated that, all these people are dying. It's the #1 cancer killer, and no one's talking about this disease. And I asked my husband, out of frustration, to please make me a big white ribbon out of wood that I could throw on the front door and at least educate my neighborhood that I had lung cancer, I wasn't ashamed of it, and we need to talk about it. One picture on social media went viral, and before we knew it, there were patients and caregivers and people in the medical and science community reaching out from all over the country for these ribbons. At our own expense, we were making them and sending them to people because I thought, wow, if someone wants to talk about this, I mean, why would you want a 2-foot-tall white ribbon by 1 foot wide screaming lung cancer awareness if you were ashamed of this disease? And I thought, maybe this has been the missing piece all along, that this community didn't have something to rally around. They didn't have something to help them have the confidence to stand up and tell their story. And we work very hard we don't want to change the face of lung cancer, because that makes people with smoking histories feel not part of this movement. We want people to understand that people with smoking histories are humans. They are good people. They are mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and, teachers and lawyers and even people in the medical community. They have an identity. They are not smokers. They are people who had a tobacco history or have a tobacco history.
Well, it always frustrated me that, we don't want to talk to Uncle Joe about his drug and alcohol problem, but boy, if someone lights up a cigarette, we're going to make them feel like they're the worst person in the world.
Or in my case, I'm a fitness trainer and a health educator. And so what am I going to do? Shake my finger at people who have food addictions,
Yes.
or, I can get them to move for an hour. They're under my control for that hour. But after that, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of nutrition. And it's not easy to change behavior. And with smoking, it's an addiction. These are addictions. We need to have empathy and compassion for people.
Absolutely.
And we need to get them proper care.
Absolutely. Heidi Anda, thank you so much for being with us today. If in your own community, wherever you're listening to this, if you have concerns, talk to your primary care physician, raise those concerns. In our own community at Northeast Georgia Health System, we have a fantastic early screening program. We have worked very hard to have it, and there are lots of resources right here in this community. Heidi, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Martha, and I appreciate so much your advocacy. You are saving lives. You are saving lives.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for being with me today. And I wanted to let you all know, if you are watching us on YouTube, you can follow us on Access WDUN. We had a group of very boisterous children right outside that I was waving at while I was talking to Heidi. So I wanted to make you aware of that, and I wasn't going crazy. We'll be back.
In North Georgia,
It's the topics that matter to me.
we're your eyes and ears in the community with the latest breaking news.
It's the most important thing we face.
AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
At Onward Reserve, their motto is live authentically. Every shirt, every store, every story is inspired by real moments. On the golf course, in the field, out on the lake, or gathering with friends after a long day. Discover clothing, footwear, accessories, and game day attire, all designed for making memories with the people and places you love. Visit Onward Reserve on the Gainesville Square next to WDUN. Open Monday through Saturday 10 till 7, Sundays 12 till 5. Onward Reserve. Live authentically.
Friends, we need your help. As I'm sure you've heard, SNAP benefits, the lifeline for thousands of seniors, children, and disabled individuals, won't be deposited this November. Georgia Mountain Food Bank and our pantry partners are bracing for a surge in emergency need, but we can't do it alone. Our shelves are low, and your gift will go straight to feeding neighbors in crisis. Thanks to Cook Law Group, your donation can be doubled up to $25,000. Visit gmfb.org today. Together, we can keep our community fed.
Hey there, it's Cody Lovin, owner of Crawlspace Medic. Is your crawl space giving you trouble? Maybe it's moisture, structural issues, or even foul odors? Don't worry, my team and I, we've seen it all. At Crawlspace Medic, we specialize in crawl space repairs, encapsulations, and basement waterproofing, ensuring your home's foundation stays solid and protected. We're all about delivering top-notch service you can trust with solutions that last. Give me a call at 706-410-2400 or visit crawlspacemedic.com for a free evaluation.
Fall is planting time in North Georgia. This is Julie from Full Bloom Nursery, and now is the perfect time to plant pansies, perennials, shrubs, and trees. Planting in the fall gives your new plants time to become established without the stress of heat and dry weather. We've got over 4 acres of plants for you to choose from, so come see us for all your fall projects. Our knowledgeable staff will help you pick out the right plant for the right spot. Be sure to like us on Facebook and visit us on the web at fullbloomnursery.com.
November means cool mornings, falling leaves, and lawns that still need the perfect finish before the holidays start. Make it easy with an X-Mark from Howard Brothers, the mower built to perform when it matters most. From homeowners to pros, X-Mark delivers comfort, speed, and precision that keeps your yard looking sharp all year long. Don't let fall slow you down. Head over to Howard Brothers and power through the work with an X-Mark on your side. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with X-Mark and Howard Brothers.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, North Georgia Works and other Hall County groups are partnering to create the Unity Project for making a year-long homeless shelter. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Through the old equipment. Let's go over Pothole Pete's record, right? So there were 85 near misses, Sean, in the Potomac before the DCA air crash. Pete did nothing. He spent $80 billion on DEI and on climate change. He lowered the standards for training at the FAA. He focused on pronouns at the FAA, changing those things, but never worked to fix the air traffic control system. Didn't work on bringing more air traffic controllers into the system. And so what he's trying to do is rewrite his record because he wants to run for president. But the truth is, he barely showed up at the DOT. He was in Michigan and other places, but he was no-show Pete. And now he wants to rewrite it so he can run for president. And he's going after me and President Trump. We're not going to take it.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Sean Duffy going through, kind of what is happening with the Department of Transportation. And I would say that Duffy is really the guy that singularly changed the viewpoint of people related to this shutdown, Democrats and Republicans, because he flew through airports. He carried his own bags. He was talking to people as he went. He did a lot of videos. He understands, the power of doing videos. And he was there with the people. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't hiding the way Pete Buttigieg did all throughout him being transportation secretary. So he was out there. He was talking to people. He was thanking people. And these air traffic controllers that came in every day through this shutdown, even though they weren't getting paid, are going to get a bonus on top of their payment, of their back pay. Because they're going to figure out a way to find the money to give them a bonus because they came in at a difficult time when the country needed them. And it's very different than what we saw with the air traffic controller strike in the Reagan administration, because those folks ended up getting fired. So we'll see what happens with all of this, and we've got a lot of things to talk about. Now, the diversion has started away from the Democrats and getting the stuff done related to getting the budget passed. Today, CNN released a report where they said there were emails from Jeffrey Epstein saying that Trump knew what was going on, even though all of the people that are coming forward as victims have said that Donald Trump was never involved. They never saw him. They never interacted with him. Now, here's what we know about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, is that, yes, they crossed in certain circles the way the wealthy cross in circles in a city like New York, and that there was never any parties that Trump went to because he doesn't drink and do drugs. Okay, that's what these Epstein parties were like. They crossed paths at social events. And when Donald Trump found out what Epstein was doing, he distanced himself and never went to a he was never seen again after that 2007 discovery with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was never involved and has never been implicated by anyone living. I mean, an email that says Trump knew what was going on with the girls, that's from Jeffrey Epstein. You're going to believe what Jeffrey Epstein said? Jeffrey Epstein is one of the worst human beings that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Him and Ghislaine Maxwell are two of the most awful human beings that have ever walked the face of the earth, because of the kinds of things they did to people. You're going to believe anything that they say? And really, in automatic, there's, some email that has been released today of all days. Look, this is why I say stay away from social media. Stay away from social media. We're going to update you on things. I'll dig into this. I'm not going to completely dismiss this, but it sounds to me like it's easily explainable. Trump pushed this guy away once he found out what he was doing, and he did not participate. That's what we know. And lots of people have backed that up. We'll be back.
This fall, give your lawn and food plots the winning edge with Limelight Pro. Now at Farmers Exchange in Cleveland. Limelight Pro is a premium, fast-acting pelletized lime that helps balance soil pH, unlock nutrients, and boost plant growth. Easy to spread, quick to work, and perfect for a fall application. Whether growing grass, gardens, or game plots, get the results you want with Limelight Pro. Farmers Exchange, your hometown partner for a stronger, greener season.
While technology has certainly changed the way people do business, it hasn't changed the way we treat our customers. It's Mike Cormier, and at Hardy Chevrolet, we are as committed to excellent customer service as the Hardys were when they started the business here in Gainesville over 4 decades ago. When it's time for a new or used vehicle, remember what Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
This might be the last day of the government shutdown. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We're very optimistic about the vote tally tonight. We think this is going to happen, and we're sorry that it took this long.
That's House Speaker Mike Johnson minutes ago. That final House vote would fund the government through January while also paying federal workers and providing funding for SNAP food assistance through next September. But Republicans will have to mostly go this alone, voting to pass the bill. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries tells CNN
House Democrats will strongly oppose
any legislation that does not decisively address the Republican health care crisis.
And Democrats are upset the funding does not include what they demanded throughout the shutdown. An extension to Obamacare subsidies set to expire at year's end, driving up the cost of health coverage for millions of Americans. Until the shutdown ends, travel's still a frustration amid air traffic controllers not getting paid, not showing up.
My flight was canceled last night, and so now we're on an earlier flight today, so hopefully I continue to get my upgrade.
I pray. I don't want to get stranded here all day.
They're in New York City. Across the country today, there are nearly 900 more flights canceled, over 600 more delays, and those issues could continue until the system's back to normal and the controllers get their paychecks. A new crackdown on illegal immigrants in Florida has led to 150 arrested accused of sex crimes, as Homeland Security also touts the crackdown in Illinois that's drawn a lot of angry anti-ICE demonstrations.
Protesters, shots fired. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says none of this noise will keep ICE from removing illegal aliens from Chicago's streets. President Trump adding on social media, quote, since the launch of Midway Blitz in Chicago only weeks ago, shootings are down 35%, robberies are down 41%, and carjackings are down almost 50%.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson there mourning a sheriff's deputy in Indiana killed early this morning in Delaware County while helping a stranded driver on a highway. A truck driver lost control and his big rig hit the deputy who had just gotten married in June. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and a fire that rekindled in windy conditions at a residence east of Flowery Branch Monday led to a total loss of the home Tuesday. WDUN's William Daughtry reports.
Hall County Fire Rescue initially responded to the residence on Guth Road at around 7:30 p.m. on Monday. 2 adults were displaced and the residence was a total loss after the initial fire. Then at around 8 a.m. on Tuesday, crews had to respond to the same address in windy conditions. What was left of the property was fully involved in flames. The fire was put out, no one was injured, and the cause remains under investigation by the Hall County Fire Marshal's office.
Lawrenceville-based Georgia Gwinnett College is making an expansion of its academic offerings. For a first-time graduate program, GGC is awaiting pending approval from the Southern Association of Colleges and School Commission of Colleges for their plans to offer a new Master of Arts in Teaching and Secondary Education. When finalized, GGC will begin offering classes for their new master's degree in the spring of 2027. Dean for GGC's School of Education, Dr. Angie Jasper, said in a release, the MAT program will be offering additional opportunities for current students, alumni, and provisionally certified teachers. More information found at Access WDUN. Betty Norton of the Gainesville-based Norton Agency passed away at the age of 93 Sunday, according to an obituary from Memorial Park Funeral Home. Well, Norton was Northeast Georgia's first female realtor and served in several community leadership roles. Her son, Bob Norton, reflects on her legacy.
She's part of the fabric of the community, I believe. Mom's ability to connect with people was probably unlike anybody I've ever met.
A celebration of life service scheduled for Tuesday, November 18th at Gainesville First United Methodist Church. And with the city of Gainesville closing a large homeless encampment due to sewer work, the several Hall County organizations are now working together to help those being displaced. Michael Giddens with North Georgia Works is one of the organizations that partners with the Unity Project, has said that the project is working to turn the Set Free building on Dorsey Street into a homeless shelter.
We've had to do over $100,000 worth of renovations to get it to where it can be an overnight shelter. We're not quite there yet.
They're hoping to have it ready by December after having a soft opening this past Monday night. More news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN forecast.
We continue with lots of sunshine, and it'll end up in the low 60s this afternoon. Clear skies this evening with overnight lows in the low 40s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Baldwin, 45 degrees. Duluth and in Gainesville, 47. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9, WDUN.
Hey, Georgia, are you ready for a pop quiz? No, really. It's an easy one. What's the best way to win money? Huh? How about instantly? Because right now you could instantly win $25 just for playing Cash Pop in-store. Now through November 23rd, 2,000 winners a week will instantly win $25 just for playing. Just look for the prize alert on your ticket and listen for this sound.
You're a winner.
That means you won $25. So hey, let's get popping. It all ends November 23rd, so hurry and play Cash Pop from the Georgia Lottery. Please play responsibly. Always check and sign your ticket.
Looking for the perfect gifts to give someone this holiday season? Why not give them the gift everyone wants to get? Holiday scratchers from the Georgia Lottery. They're easy to give, fun to play, and really fun to win. So stop by your favorite retailer and pick up a holiday scratcher today.
Tune in to WSB Channel 2 for your official Georgia Lottery drawing and check out the Players Club at GALottery.com.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
I mean, Mamdani is a charismatic swindler. I mean, you gotta hand it to him. Like he can light up a stage, but he has just been a swindler his entire life. I think he's likely to win. He's likely to be mayor of New York.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Elon Musk talking to Joe Rogan about Zoran Mamdani. And Tim Graham is joining me from MRC, Media Research Center. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mamdani billionaires, because the first picture he puts out is him and Alex Soros. And for a guy that hates billionaires, or supposedly hates billionaires, he seems to have a few in his orbit. Tim, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So tell us what we know.
Well, obviously, they would say, well, we have our billionaires. That's different. But, Alex Soros is the son of George Soros. And, George Soros is like 98 or something. So Alex is the guy. And he loves having pictures taken next to every trendy Democrat, even the trendy Democratic socialists, quote unquote. And yeah, there's no question here. The Soros family's all in on Mamdani. They have they poured $37 million into a litany of leftist groups that are Mamdani backers. That came out in July, and a bunch of these have get out the vote efforts. This could be one reason why he won the primary and then the general with the Working Families Party. He was on that line as well as the Democrat Party line. But one of the things that's always a little sad about capitalism is that you get these people who get very rich and decide to be Marxists, or back Marxists. Now, you can't say that, because when Donald Trump said Mamdani's a communist, the fact checkers all go crazy and say you can't say that. Even if Mamdani says, eventually we'd like to seize the means of production, which is straight out of Marx. But of course, we've found before that when they suggested John Ossoff was a socialist, pants on fire lie, you can't say such a thing. But of course, these people call Trump a fascist hour on the hour, and the fact checkers snore.
So who are some of the people that are in his orbit? He's going to be the mayor of New York now. He's promised a bunch of things that he can't do, okay? But he's a very slick talker, and he's a guy that can, draw a crowd. And I think that for a while, people are going to buy into what he's selling. But then you're going to see crime go up. You're going to see people leaving the city. Rents might come down because so many people leave the city that it causes the real estate market to collapse. But it doesn't look good. Who are the people in his orbit right now?
Well, you got to start with Soros. I think the problem he's having right now is who's not in his orbit already. Governor Hochul, who endorsed him. But then they were saying, oh, well, so are you going to pour state money into the free buses? And she's like, no, we're not doing that. You can already see before he's even sworn in that, there's so many things that Mamdani promised that he was going to need state support or federal support to be able to make his campaign promises come true. And I think we all know Mamdani's not getting any support from this president. If anything, it would be the opposite. Like, well, we'll make sure that you're defunded. If we can do that, we'll treat you like USAID. But there's a lot of things he wants to do that he's not going to be able to do. And, this will be the interesting thing because socialists are, never have as much power as he's going to have. And even so, there's a lot of stuff he's not going to be able to do. And they'll blame it on capitalism. I mean, that's just what they do. When socialism fails, they try to spread the whole blame on the capitalist system.
So what should we do? What are the things we should look for?
Well, for us, the first thing it shows you is that never let anybody call them the mainstream media, because here in this race, in the primary and in the general, our so-called mainstream media were backing Mamdani. Stories that ABC News did, where they were just basically letting him present himself as, I'm a good Muslim today, I'll be a good Muslim tomorrow, and, everybody who mocks me, is a xenophobe and an Islamophobe. I mean, they spread this line. Saturday Night Live had a skit where it was a mockery of the primary, and it was like, we have two plausible candidates and a nut, and the nut wasn't Mamdani, it was the Republican, Curtis Lewa. And the thing that always annoys me about these arrogant leftists is they're like, well, now your MAGA aunt and uncle won't be able to pronounce his name. And, in this case, they had the Sliwa character call him Zoltar Rob Zombie. And, it's because the conservatives are morons and they can't pronounce anybody's names right. Or they'll have the Trump character saying, I hope I mispronounced this. It's that sort of thing where it's the arrogance of, we are the smart people, we are the cosmopolitans, that we are the ones that understand, we're global citizens. And, it also makes them extremely tolerant of intolerant Muslims.
Well, and I think, too, what I don't think he understands the impact is there's a lot of people from Middle America that take trips to New York City that are not going to do it now, or they're going to put it off. There's a lot of people that, that it's part of a field trip or whatever it might happen, and there's going to be tourists that don't come. There's going to be people that move out of the city. And, John Lindsay, I'm old enough to remember John Lindsay, and he was a good-looking guy, but he didn't do a very good job in New York. And, I mean, and it took like 20 years to get out of that hole. Now, New York will be fine in the long run. They have been through worse things than Zoran Mamdani, but it's going to there'll be a price to pay as they get through this.
Yeah, I mean, those of us who are seasoned Americans remember New York City coming for federal bailouts in the mid-'70s. And then, of course, there was the famous headline, Ford to New York City dropped dead, because Jerry Ford, the president at the time, was not going in on a federal bailout. And yeah, they could be in that situation again in a few years. And these are the sorts of things where we're going to have to watch and see. But, New York City is the financial center of the United States, now being run by a Marxist-Leninist. I mean, there is some oddity there. And it's obviously the Democrats couldn't get it together to somehow find a candidate who wasn't as damaged as Andrew Cuomo, who hadn't killed a bunch of people's grandparents by sending COVID patients into nursing homes, who didn't have a record of sexually assaulting his staff. I mean, the idea that anybody thought that was the plausible Democrat to run is a mystery. So, I mean, it's they think this is a great thing for the Democratic Party. I think it's going to be, obviously, the Republicans are going to try to say this is the poster boy for the Democratic Party now. Fox News is going to like talking about what he does and what he says. So we'll see if the news media, if the the Democrat-leaning news media keeps enabling Mamdani.
So, Tim Graham, if people want to know more, how can they get information?
Well, we're here at newsbusters.org. We have long had a project looking into the Soros family, and what they call their open society foundations, when, of course, a lot of what they're backing is climate authoritarianism, Middle East terrorists, and just a socialist menace in general. That's all here under our MRC business set of special reports. So newsbusters.org and our Newsbusters podcast.
Thank you for being with us today, Tim. We'll talk again soon.
You bet.
Thank you. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back.
We're offering an early Valentine this weekend. This is Phil Bonelli, and on the next episode of North Georgia Business Radio, we'll be joined by Johnny Valentine, the favorite son of Zoller Energy. It's High Energy Radio, Saturday afternoon at 3 on WDUN. Always here, always local.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over disagreements? Hi, this is Pastor Whit Martin from Asbury Chapel. Disagreements lead to all sorts of hurt. That makes finding common ground hard. But what if the basis of our friendships and interactions were built upon something everlasting? There is a unity that can be experienced if it's built upon something sure. Jesus prays in John 17 that his followers would be one with him first, then there would be unity with each other. If we have a vertical relationship with God, then all our horizontal relationships will pan out as they should. I want to encourage you to have a relationship with God today, because only from there will we find real peace. And with real peace, we are more agreeable, loving others, and enriching every relationship we have. And that is Wit's End. Come experience real peace with God through Asbury Chapel, or learn more at asburychapel.net.
Talking with Haley from Clipper Stores, and of course, Clippers puts the C in convenience. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things you've done is that drive-thru. It's fantastic.
Yes, you can pull through the Clipper drive-thru and literally get anything you want from inside, Bill.
I know when I'm on the road with the dog, I like to whip through the one in Claremont and say, I need a Dr. Pepper and some peanut M&Ms, and boom, right there.
And Dino can get a little treat, too. You got to get the little pup cup for him.
Clipper, never fly solo.
This is Terrell with the Spa on Green Street. Exciting news. We're thrilled to welcome Dr. Elisa Reynolds and Kim Baldwin to our team of wellness providers. Dr. Elisa brings her passion for functional medicine, chiropractic care, and mind-body wellness healing, helping you to uncover the root causes of imbalance and guiding you towards lasting vitality. Kim combines her expertise in breathwork, mindful awareness, and energy holistic compassionate care. Come meet them both and appreciate a new level of wellness. SpaOnGreenStreet.com.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we're here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, 3 fires in White County and a Flowery Branch house fire that reignited kept fire safety crews busy Monday and Tuesday. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows, and I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here, and if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that. I mean, we need to be a big party, a big tent party. So for me, it's like these are pretty reasonable. I mean, my party's always been opposing shutting our government down. I'm not sure why it's controversial now to devote these things, and I refuse to put all these people in the middle of this political kinds of brinkmanship.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's John Fetterman, who's, to be fair, has become kind of an idol of the right because he stand up against his party on things like Israel and the hostages, and then now the government shutdown. But he makes a point that I think is important, is that it was always the position of the Democratic Party to it was always the position of the Democratic Party not to shut the government down because generally federal workers are Democrats. And so you don't want to put your own people out of work for a period of time. Now, Hakeem Jeffries made a nice little snarky comment about welcome back from your 7-week paid vacation. Just because he was there every day, I have been assured there was lots of work going on behind the scenes. I personally believe it was the wrong move to keep the House out of session for 7 weeks, waiting for this thing to happen. Okay, I personally believe that was the wrong thing to do. However, it's worked out okay for the Republicans, and it looks like they've got the vote. So Hakeem Jeffries is going to talk a lot. He's a weak leader of the Democratic Party. He hasn't been able to get anything done, but the Republicans have the votes. So it's one of those things. Now, Judy sent a text message in and said, "Thank you, Martha, for the PSA on early lung cancer detection. I have a pulmonary test next month because of my long history with bronchitis and seasonal asthma. I've added a note to request an order to be tested. Many of us were raised around a lot of smoking in our homes and public smoking. I also had a basement room in Colorado for 3 years, and our house butted up to the foothills. We knew nothing about radon. We have radon removal and detection system in our home here in Hall County because levels were high. I encourage people to get their homes tested. Thanks again for alerting your listeners. Your knee replacement buddy, Judy." So, yeah, I appreciate that. And look, to be fair, it was all I could do in light of the just grief that I have felt at the loss of my mother and father and sister. It was the way that I could channel my grief in a more productive way and try to help in a way, because my sister's children are very cynical about the healthcare system because they believe that their mother was a kind of casualty of the healthcare system that she had. She had a particular plan that was an HMO, and so HMOs back in those days tended to just treat symptoms and not look for the cause of the symptoms. So they had my sister had this chronic cough, and they looked at it and they said she had some paralysis in her vocal cord, and then they gave her some drugs for that. And what we know now is that generally, if you have one of the causes of paralysis in a vocal cord can be a tumor in your lungs down farther beyond your throat and pushing up against that nerve. And the doctor that saw her was an ear, nose, and throat doctor because it was a cough. And she had quit smoking like 25 years before, so she was considered not a smoker. If you haven't smoked for X period of time, you're considered a non-smoker again. And she was in that place that she was able to do that. And so she went in for treatment, and they didn't refer her anywhere else to look at her chest. They just did the ear, nose, and throat. And so she felt like she wasn't treated well. Her kids felt that way too. And so they are sort of taking a cynical point of view that, well, our mother died of lung cancer, our grandmother and our grandfather died of lung cancer. There's not much we can do to stop it. And maybe there's not. But there are prevention things you can do. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit smoking. But also don't assume because you don't smoke or you quit smoking that you have no other risk factors. There are lots of other things in the environment that could have an impact on that. And where you have an opportunity, use the early screening that is available. There's a great program here at Northeast Georgia Health System that Dr. Gersh talked with us about related to if you're coming in, say you have a bicycle accident. I actually have a friend that got diagnosed with adenocell carcinoma this way. He had a bicycle accident. He went in, he had some broken ribs. He got his ribs x-rayed. There were 3 spots on his lungs that they didn't like, and they found that he had adenocarcinoma. He was 38 years old. If he had not found those 3 spots when he did, he probably would have been dead in 10 years. And he wouldn't have seen a lot of what his children were there. But because they found the 3 spots, they were able to take them off, and he is now 15 years down the road on this and had no more problems. So there are things you can do early detection. Can you prevent everything from happening to you? No, you can't. Even people, we all know people like this. They ate right, they exercised, they weren't overweight, they, just list, and they still end up with some dread disease. That can happen. You also have people that we know that do everything wrong, and they don't get sick, or they have a pretty long life. Then you have people like my good friend Alan Kinder, who's going to be 101 in January, who's in great shape, is sharp, and he kind of has that category that a lot of people that live to be 100 years old have, that he's kind of a small person. He's not that tall. He's a little bit small and slight. And, I know we love big, tall, huge people in America, like the big football players, but in the long, they don't live as long as, in some cases, they don't live as long as other people do. So, there's a lot of things we can do for our health. Now, you shouldn't sit and worry about it either, because worry's not a good thing either. You do the things that are reasonable to be done. I have a father and brother that had aortic aneurysm problems, so I get checked for that. And I have a father, a mother, and a sister that had lung cancer and died from lung cancer, so I get pre-screened for that. I don't go and try to get pre-screened for everything, but I have sort of thought about those full body screens that you hear advertised. Because I'm not afraid of radiation at all, and I maybe it would help. But then I think, is that a little crazy that I shouldn't do that? So we'll see what happens. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. We want you to be a part of the program. Next up, we're going to talk to Bill Crane, and we're going to bring it back home to local politics and state politics and what's happening with that. We had Mike Collins using AI-generated video of John Ossoff saying things that he never said. That happened yesterday. We've also got Jeff Duncan out there campaigning as a Democrat and talking about what it takes to win a general election. So we've got a lot of things that are happening in local politics. And I had somebody ask me yesterday, they had never considered the fact that some of these candidates may not qualify. They think all these candidates are going to qualify. Well, consultants would love that. But I would say to you, if you're in a field with 7 or 8 or 9 people that have already said they're running, you might want to think about what your plan is and how you're going to actually get to victory in a field that large. We'll be back.
There's nothing quite like a local neighbor. That's why AARP is local, right here in Midtown Atlanta, to offer you free events and enriching experiences that help you with finances, family, and fun. We're in the community, connecting you to what matters most right when you need it. Visit our website at aarp.org/GA or visit us on social media at AARP Georgia to find out more information on how we're helping your money, health, and happiness live as long as you do.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Friday game night moves into the playoffs on AM 550 as Flowery Branch hosts Ware County. On FM 102.9, North Hall hosts Mount Zion. And on 94.5 FM, Gainesville hosts Dunwoody. Playoff coverage begins at 6 with the Prep Tailgate Show on North Georgia's home of Friday game night. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN-FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Pop with a 43-day government shutdown on the verge of ending. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
We're very optimistic about the vote tally tonight.
Even if it passes, don't expect air travel to run smoothly right away.
I'm worried right now, like it could get canceled at any second.
Even today, every time my phone went off, I was like, oh, did my flight get canceled? I'm still worried about it till we get home.
The Department of Homeland Security announcing a crackdown called Operation Criminal Return.
I call it Operation Dirtbag, because these individuals were sex offenders, but not just sex offenders, they targeted children. So sexual assault, battery, attempted homicide, these 150 individuals will be gone.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem earlier on Fox and Friends. And on Wall Street earlier, the Dow hitting an intraday record high. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and White County Public Safety says fire crews responded to 3 separate fires in Cleveland between Monday night and late Tuesday morning, as WDUN's Lawson Smith reports.
The first fire was a residential fire which occurred on Hamilton Drive at 6:45 p.m. Monday. A second residential fire also occurred Tuesday at 8 a.m. on Fieldstone Road. Additionally, crews responded to a commercial fire on Brook Street Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. No injuries were reported in any of the fires.
A local sheriff's office recently received multiple reports of a romance scam going around the area. More from WDUN's Hamilton Keener.
According to the Banks County Sheriff's Office, criminals are pretending to be in a relationship online to gain trust and steal money. Scammers will create fake profiles claiming to work overseas or be in the military. Banks County authorities remind residents to never send money or personal info to someone you have never met, and that red flags include avoiding meeting in person or over video chat.
And the Hall County Government and Fire Rescue is holding the christening ceremony for its new fireboat later this afternoon at 3 p.m. It will be at Laurel Park on Old Cleveland Highway in Gainesville. The christening event is free and open to the public. A full look at the 38-foot craft-style marine rescue boat and more news can be found at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN forecast.
We continue with lots of sunshine, and it'll end up in the low 60s this afternoon. Clear skies this evening with overnight lows in the low 40s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
Right now in Blairsville, we have 45 degrees, in Jefferson, 50 degrees, and in Gainesville, 49. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9, WDUN.
Home means family values, safety and security from a crazy world. It's not about a commission on a sale. A home is a place to raise children, build families, dinners, celebrations, and connections. It's roots for a life well lived. Local people helping local families with local real estate. Norton means local. You need Norton now more than ever. I'm Frank Norton Jr., the Norton Agency. Call us at 770-532-0022 or look for us on the web at gonorton.com. Our family is serving North Georgia for 4 generations.
Medicare annual enrollment is underway, now through December 7th, which means it's time to visit the CHI agency in Gainesville and Cleveland. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to Medicare. Myself, Chelsea Hogan, and Laura Chastain have teamed up to make sure you get the right Medicare coverage that's right for you. To find out more and set up your appointment, visit thechiagency.com. That's thechiagency.com. Or come see us behind Burger King in Cleveland or in the Rubicon Building in Gainesville.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It takes more than the base to win a governor's race in Georgia, and we've seen that play out the last few elections. And so we've got to figure out a way to get more than the base. And so on the Democratic side of this ticket, I'm the only candidate that can get Democrats, independents, and those batch of disgusted Republicans to show up and vote for us. We have to win because second place trophies don't solve problems. If we want to solve some of those issues around public education, around affordable housing, around our natural resources, around expanding Medicaid, those are the issues that we want to tackle, but we've got to win.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who's now running as a Democrat, making I think, a fair point that you're not going to win just with your base, especially in the Democratic Party in Georgia. And it'll be interesting to see. Bill Crane is joining me right now, and we're starting, Bill, to see these races kind of shape up. But, my thought is, and I was talking to somebody yesterday who thought, that he never considered the fact that everyone who's announced won't qualify. But if we have everybody qualify that says they're going to be running, this is going to be a very interesting, expensive, and long campaign.
And decimate the seniority in the state Senate. I take the Lieutenant Governor's point well, but the challenge or the counter to that is he has to make it through the primary. And so if he could skip the primary to being the nominee, yeah, he can attract some Republicans and perhaps, if he was the nominee, rally the Democratic base. But everything that's come out so far, private polling and public polling, puts Atlanta former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms well ahead of the pack, a distant second, but rising in the numbers. Michael Thurman, the former statewide labor commissioner, head of DFACS, DeKalb County two-term CEO and superintendent of schools. And then the rest of the field, including the lieutenant governor, in single digits. That can change. It's more than a year from now, or it's right at a year from now. But you have to start to have a groundswell. And I think the challenge for the lieutenant governor is he has to build trust first, name ID second. And this is a Democratic Party that until the Public Service Commission races last week had not elected a white male Democrat statewide since 2006.
So your thoughts on the Public Service Commission race and what happened there? Because we're still 3-2, which is, I know the Public Service Commission doesn't want to hear this, the Republicans, that's a little more reflective of the way the state is as far as the breakout of how Democrats and Republicans are. Everybody would like to have 5-0, but you don't always have 5-0. I think it was a combination of so many municipal elections and really, I thought that maybe Tim Echols would lose and Fitz Johnson would win, but both of them lost. So your thoughts about those PSC races?
Well, the most substantive change will be what does get discussed at PSC meetings. So you'll hear a lot more about sustainable and alternative energy. You'll hear a lot more pressure, not just on Georgia Power, but on Oglethorpe Power and the other power generators regulated by the Public Service Commission, to look at not just natural gas, more hydro, and additional nuclear. Because of the demand growth, not just data centers, but across the state and including data centers, Georgia Power is starting to make noise about new nuclear, about some of those smaller, more compact nuclear systems. And those are very expensive and have a long window for payment and construction in the regulatory process. I think that's less likely to occur with this new split. And Bubba McDonald, who's the current senior member of the commission, most will remember this, but ran the first time as a Democrat and lost, and then switched parties to the GOP and won. And he's been in office since. But he's been a longtime supporter of more sustainable energy, a broader portfolio of choices, and a little bit more pressure on Georgia Power on the merchant side to buy power that you and me and other people might generate from our homes if we had in-home solar.
And it's interesting. People always think about Georgia Power as being the big dog in this fight or in this mix. And they are important, don't get me wrong. But I met yesterday with a group of folks from the EMCs, and EMC customers are actually the majority in Georgia, okay? And obviously, if you're more than a certain amount of megawatts, you can pick who you want to represent you. But what I think is interesting is that the EMCs have actually kept because they're not for profit, they have actually kept their prices a lot lower. They used to be 10 to 12% different from Georgia Power. They're now in the 20 to 40% different than Georgia Power, just depending on where you are. I think that right now, and I love Georgia Power, okay? I think they're a great company, and I think all in all, they do well. I think that they need to be very careful about how they approach anything at this point in time, because it does seem to a lot of voters, and I think that's part of the reason why I don't think anybody knew who these people were, if you want to know the truth, really, okay? But what a lot of it was about backlash more against Georgia Power, appearing to just want more and more and more. I don't think that's fair, Bill, but I think that's what happened.
I agree with your assessment. Georgia Power is an extremely well-managed utility, as are almost all of the Southern Company utilities in that holding company, including the gas companies, because they now own Georgia Natural Gas and Atlanta Gas Light as well. The EMCs are well known in their regions, and I grew up in some EMC households, and yeah, those rates were lower. I miss them. And they are not for profit.
And you get a check.
Also,
you get a check back at the end of the year.
You get a shareholder check. And there are a lot of municipal electric authorities. So Georgia Power, of the 10 million roughly residents of Georgia, statewide, has about 2.5 million customers, commercial and residential. So they're a big player, as you acknowledge. But they're sort of made the target because they're the biggest. They have a building on the Atlanta skyline. They're very visible in economic development. They're very visible in sponsoring public and civic events and their philanthropy. And that success makes them a target. But I agree with you. It's kind of a combination of them paying a price, even though most energy costs are pretty stable. Fuel and electricity haven't been spiking compared to a lot of other things.
People don't want to care. They don't care if someone else
is
paying.
They want to take it out on somebody. And it was an incredibly low turnout, where the bigger turnouts were in municipalities that had contested mayoral races, city council races, and school boards where there are municipal school boards, which tend to be in Democratic-run municipalities. So that also spiked, even though turnout was low in double digits.
And it would have been a lot better had they been in an even year like they normally are. Okay,
correct.
They normally
and they were moved for a Democratic lawsuit.
Yes,
they will true up with state officials when they reelect the next time, and they're up. 2 of the 6 are up every 2 years over the 6-year term of a member of the Public Service Commission.
Yes, absolutely. I think that putting anybody in this off year, as like some of our colleagues like to call it, is like a doomsday. Okay,
like
because
election.
It makes it very difficult. It makes it very, very difficult. So what's your view now? We've got the government about to open up. I talked to a number of our members of Congress this morning, and basically, yes, Democrats are going to try to propose a bunch of amendments, but they don't have the votes. Mike Johnson has successfully held his coalition together, and it looks like he's going to in this, which basically means, they will pass what the Senate sent over to them,
with some minor amendments. And it's interesting, they had to change their timetable because remember the original CR was to return in 7 weeks to talk about the next fiscal year's budget and CR. And so now Congress, which has been largely out, particularly the House side, is supposedly going to stay in session through January 30th to get this completed and get all the funding restored. But there were some carve-outs that aren't getting a lot of attention that the Democrats did get on the Senate side. Full funding of SNAP benefits through the next fiscal year, which runs through September the 26th. Some additional discussion, no guarantee of outcome, around votes on health care. The president saying he wants those subsidies that go to the Affordable Care Act, the insurance companies, to go to the individual customers. They're probably not going to work that out in a few weeks, but it is acknowledgement they need to do something. And some changes in, obviously, the calendar of both chambers to get all this done. But it was somewhat of a win for both the Republican leadership in the Senate to get those 8 Democrats to cross over, and House Speaker Johnson for mostly holding the line. And it does look like before middle of next week, the government will be creaking the doors back open. How quickly air traffic controllers will come back online and those SNAP checks will start rolling remains to be seen.
Yeah, I suspect they'll get it going again. And of course, one final thing. I don't know if you followed the craziness that now that the government shutdown's over, the mainstream media has gone back to talking about Epstein. And I just think there's not anything that people are less interested in.
It depends on what's new. I haven't read, I'm not probably going to, the emails that were released on the House Democratic side today. I still think the president has a vulnerability there, but I don't think it's a death blow. And I don't think you can drag something like that out indefinitely.
Well, his story matches up. Well, first of all, a lot of the victims have said he's not impacted at all. But his story was, once he found out what was going on, he banished Epstein, and that story is backed up because you don't see, after a certain date, you do not see any pictures of Epstein with Trump. And they, I believe him on that because he's a guy that doesn't drink and doesn't smoke and doesn't really party. I mean, he is kind of a serial monogamist, but there is no evidence that he was a guy that went trolling for young girls, ever.
Well, I can't go with serial monogamous based on his marital history, but I could say that if there wasn't knowledge before it was public knowledge of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing in New York and Palm Beach and elsewhere, and Donald Trump wasn't enjoying that, and as soon as it became public knowledge he backed out, then I think the president will ride through this fine. If we come up with hard evidence later, victims, et cetera, saying that they were underage, Donald Trump knew it, and that's a different issue.
Absolutely. We'll take a break, and thank you for being with us today, Bill.
Take care.
We'll be back.
Fuel our discussions with your opinions.
We need to talk about common sense here.
We're the station that gives you a voice.
It's my local station.
We're North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hey, Daddy, what's in a crawl space?
That's a good question, Annie. I'm Cody Lovin with Crawl Space Medic. Musty smells, dampness, and sagging insulation means your crawl space or basement might need some attention. Our team quickly finds and fixes moisture problems, updates moisture barriers, and resolves structural issues, ensuring your home stays dry and comfortable. Don't let your crawl space problems affect your comfort, air quality, or property value. Visit crawlspacemedic.com.
A healthy home starts from the ground up.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over grief? Hi, this is Pastor Whit Martin from Asbury Chapel. Grief often weighs us down and makes it hard to keep our heads up. There are so many who pray that their grief would be taken care of, dealt with, or even overcome by something or someone. Well, I've got good news for you. There is someone who can overcome our grief. Jesus told his disciples in John chapter 16, and he tells us today that he has overcome the world and its grief. His beautiful gift of forgiveness and renewed life overcomes our darkest nights and deepest griefs. The Bible tells us beautifully in the Psalms that weeping may last through the night, but joy comes in the morning. Let Jesus be your overcomer through faith in him. Let him deal with your grief so that joy may come and lift you up today. And that, my friends, is Wit's End. Let Jesus overcome your grief at Asbury Chapel, or learn more at asburychapel.net.
Are you making these two deadly mistakes with your emergency food supply? The first mistake is not having an emergency food supply to begin with. The second mistake is buying an emergency food supply, but not having a way to cook the meals in an emergency. That's why My Patriot Supply created the Black Friday Survival Special. It comes with a 4-week food supply, plus $150 worth of free gifts, including everything you need to prepare your emergency meals, like a cook stove, fuel, fire starters, plus a water purifier, bug-out bag, and more. It's the complete survival kit your family needs to ride out natural disasters, civil unrest, or worse. Plus, it makes a great Christmas gift, but it's only available through Black Friday. So head over to mypatriotsupply.com to check out everything that's included. With all the uncertainty in the world, disaster preparedness is more important than ever. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and get prepared today. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Banks County Sheriff's Office is alerting residents of a romance scam after receiving multiple reports. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Thank you so much for your work. We appreciate it. Very grateful. Sean Duffy, good to see you guys. Thank you for all your work, not getting paid and doing the great work. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Sound work's over. Thank you, guys. We appreciate what you guys are doing. Thanks for hanging in there. We hear good things of DC and all you guys have done. Where are you flying to? South Florida. Is South Florida on time? Yes. It is? No delays? What's your name? I'm Secretary Sean Duffy. I have transportation, so I have the airports. We've had some problems flying, but are you ready to go to South Florida? What are you doing here? Church event? All right. We were just saying thanks to the TSA workers. They again going 2 weeks of paychecks. That's almost, it's a month. No pay.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Sean Duffy going through the airports thanking people. That's kind of the way I felt the other day while I was in the Newark airport. I made sure anybody I saw in a uniform, whether they were Customs or TSA or just the regular folks in the yellow jackets that work in the airport. Okay. Those, I made sure I thanked everybody that I came in contact with because I appreciated they were there in the airport. And even though I had to go from flight to flight to flight to flight to flight till I finally got on a flight that got me home at 4 a.m., I tried to be positive and not be cranky. I get the argument when we got pulled off the plane after it had left the gate. We came back to the gate. We had to get off. Why did you put pilots on the plane that were close to the time? But the reason was they didn't know it was 2 hours on the tarmac. They had enough time to get us to Atlanta, just not enough to wait 2 hours on the tarmac. That was what happened there. So Georgia football's coming up this weekend. And this Feinbaum guy from ESPN had to finally admit that he was wrong about Gunnar Stockton. Here's what he said.
Well, I'd like to sit here, Mike, and tell you I've been right about everything this year, but nobody has. I think it was maybe you or somebody that tweeted out earlier today I can't remember who it was, the preseason top 10. I mean, it's been obliterated. We all know that. And as far as Arch Manning, I had him winning the Heisman, and I had Gunnar Stockton selling insurance somewhere in Conyers, Georgia, with Mike Bobo. So I think I've got a lot to answer for. But that's part of what we do. We throw out opinions, and we don't just do it to be malicious. We put them out there based on what we think is our gut instincts, or sometimes more than that. But Gunnar Stockton has been an absolute star. We saw that going back to Knoxville in the Tennessee game where I felt like he came of age, and he's done it so many times. And Mike Bobo, for all the criticism on the Feinbaum show, has dialed up some really unique and creative plays this year. So here we are. Texas is the one limping. They're not so much limping, but they're in such a desperate situation where Georgia has a little bit of air and room to breathe. And I think as we walked out of that game 6-7 weeks ago against Alabama, you had to wonder, would Georgia be able to survive?
So, Logan, I want to bring you in on this. So, Texas is the team that Arch Manning's playing for, right?
That is correct.
And he has not done as well as everybody thought he was going to do.
I will say this, he's had a good year, but look, when your last name is Manning, and we know what Peyton and what Eli and, of course, their father, Archie, did, you have lofty expectations. So, he's done well for himself, but I wouldn't say he's in that upper echelon yet. He has the potential to be, but he hasn't reached it yet.
And this is his freshman year, right?
Sophomore. Yeah,
okay.
He played a little bit last year, but this is his full-time under center.
So he was basically a redshirt last year.
Okay. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting about this is really kind of the balance between the way we used to do football, which was based on merit, and now with the NIL and the money and all of that. Because Arch, even though he came from like football royalty, he still is of that new group. Like, he shopped around a lot for teams. He really didn't seem to have any loyalty. We don't know if he's got any loyalty going forward. He could change teams. He's only a sophomore, and what have you got, 6 years of eligibility, 5 years, whatever it is. He could be in 3 more teams before it's all said and done. Versus like a Gunnar Stockton that all his life he wanted to pay for Georgia. He spent his entire career, right, playing at Georgia. Maybe he was at a small college to start off with.
Yeah, but I mean, we know he's right here in Rabun. That's where he went to high school. He played great football out there.
So he's of the kind of old school. And the thing that I'm hearing about Kirby Smart the most is that even though he has to deal with NIL just like the next guy, he's got to do all that. He's had a little more success keeping his teams together. Not to say nobody leaves, but he doesn't seem to have the fruit basket turnover that some of these other teams are having.
No, and I think that also, the players see that the success that Kirby's had over, especially the last 5 years, but, the last 10 since he's taken over the program, and they want to play for him. They know that Georgia every season is going to be highly ranked. They're going to get the best recruits. So that does entice players to stay more or to transfer over to Georgia. If they do so, then, you're leaving, if you do decide to leave, you're leaving a top 10 school, essentially all season for maybe some more playing time at a lesser school. If you go to like an ACC school or a Big Ten school, just for individual stats. But I feel like if you want, team success, which you would hope a lot of players would want, but we see more and more with NIL deals, like you mentioned. It's all about the individual success, but Georgia is a great program. They've really done a great job because we know all the issues they had off the field, last year, kind of coming into the season. They've kind of got all that figured out, it seems, and they've been rolling ever since, like you mentioned, that Alabama loss a few weeks ago. They haven't lost since, and a lot of people are picking them win against Texas this week at home.
The culture.
That's
People
it. That's all it is.
Yeah, Kirby is a one of a kind, and he, people questioned, for the first several years, none of Nick Saban's old folks were able to really beat him.
Right.
They're still, it's still hard to beat Alabama. I don't care who it is.
It don't matter who's the coach on the sidelines, if it's Bear Bryant, if it's Nick Saban, if it's Kalen DeBoer, they are always going to have a fantastic program because, unlike, Georgia, Alabama, they do have a good basketball program, but they are the football school. That is their bread and butter.
So, have we started playing basketball yet?
We have. Georgia started play a little bit ago, and I believe they are 2-0 on the season. I know they're playing Georgia Tech, the men, on Friday night. So college basketball just tipped off, and we'll see what happens there with the Bulldogs.
That's one thing I would love to see in my lifetime is Georgia to have a really great basketball. See,
right.
The flip there. College basketball year and see them get into the Final Four and that kind of thing. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I know people just kind of write off the Georgia basketball program, but it's a good one. I went to a basketball game recently or last season. I hadn't been to one in years and years and years. It was a fun experience. It really was.
It's great watching it live. And, Georgia, I would say this, Georgia, they always seem to get a good player or two on their team because we saw a handful of years ago, Anthony Edwards, who was a top pick and who's doing great things in the NBA right now. He came out of Georgia. And, like I said, their baseball team, they do fantastic. They have guys, drafted in the MLB. So, it seems like it's good to see that the other athletics are starting to catch up to football.
So it appears that in the last 2 weeks that YouTube has caught up to the fact that people were hacking the games and putting them on YouTube.
Yep.
Even though they could put a lot of commercials in there and make a lot of money. And I don't know if it's YouTube caught up to it or ABC, which is who has the SEC football, right? ABC's got SEC football this year. If they clamp down or what it is. But the last 2 weeks, we have not been able to get our Georgia football games. We've listened to them on radio. My husband's listened to them on radio. But we decided this week we're going to go to a bar and watch it if we can't get it on TV.
Because they're going to have it somewhere. They got the special connection or somehow to get all those games. But, it's been a trouble.
We've got the Peacock and the Paramount to cover NBC and CBS. But ABC, they've got all the crap. They've got ESPN and Hulu and Disney and all the stuff you got to put together. If I wanted to do that, I would have never cut the cord. But there's much better live TV on the Roku Live. So I'm learning as I go. I'll be back tomorrow.